In this episode, I'm going to give you some background on why I haven't been so regular at recording episodes over the last few weeks, and also a story of a CMO that I spoke to yesterday and what she's doing that is kind of counterintuitive that I think might be helpful for you on your to growing your authority and income as a fractional CMO. Let's go.
Marketers of the world, why do we work hard to solve small problems? Why do we reinvent ourselves and our clients over and over? And why are we giving away marketing strategy for free? With advancements in AI, we're all seeing the marketing department shrink from the bottom up. And companies need you to serve them as their fractional chief marketing officer. It's time to solve bigger problems and bring home a bigger paycheck. It's time to create the lifestyle we deserve and to make a greater impact. This is the Fractional CMO Show, and I'm Casey Stanton. Join me as we explore this growing industry and learn to solve bigger problems as marketing leaders. The Fractional CMO Show is sponsored by CMOs, the #1 company to teach you how to attract, convert, and serve high-paying fractional CMO clients on your terms.
Argel, welcome back. This is Casey, and let me share some news with you. So over the last few months, about 2 months, my father has been going through surgery related to a heart valve issue. And it's been a little touch and go, as you can imagine. And my father passed away just a couple days ago. And it was, it's hard for us all. I'm just leaving now his office. I went to his office today to figure out what business needed to get closed out. I've been in contact with folks. I've been doing all the stuff that you do during, someone's passing and settling the estate for my mom. And it's been a real kind of emotional process. And, I had some prediction that, he wasn't doing so well. And it was tough for me because I live in Pennsylvania. I live in Philadelphia, and my folks live in northern Michigan, kind of where I grew up. And the reason I'm sharing this is because of the lifestyle that was provided to me by being a fractional CMO. As you recall, I maintain a bench of fractional CMO clients. I have multiple clients. And, I meet with these clients on a regular basis, and people look to me as their leader. Like, I have to be there and kind of remind the troops on what we're doing and, make sure that they're focused on the right activities. And, we're kind of right in the throes of the middle and towards the end of Q3, and it's important that we're focusing right now. And I need some space. I need some space for me. I need some space to process. I need space to work on funeral arrangements and taking care of all that stuff. I want to tell you that I can't think of another, way to make money that allows me the same level of freedom that I have today. I had a big kickoff with a client last week, and that was on Monday. And it's for like a new project that we're working on. And we'd just been working together for a month before that. So it's a very fresh relationship. And that Monday morning, I decided that I was going to fly home. It seemed like Dad's health was turning. So I reached out to the CEO, and I just sent them a text message. And I said, hey, I'm sorry I'm texting you so early, but I'm going to go catch a flight and I'm going to miss the meeting. And I don't know if I'm going to be available this week. So they said, oh my God, whatever you need, take all the space you need. And, they granted me the grace of having, the space to figure out what I need to figure out. And I took the full week, effectively 100% offline to be with my family. And now it's the following week, and I'm recording this on a Thursday. And I've clocked a couple good days at work. Part of it is it's nice to have work, kind of keeps the mind busy during the day when, the rest of the family's doing stuff. And I was able to dig in with the client, make sure that we're on track, and everything's fine with the client, but I was permitted that space. And I didn't have to ask for, vacation days. It wasn't a weird conversation about compensation. It was none of that stuff. This is kind of a very rare occurrence, right? It doesn't happen in our lives very often that a parent dies. It's a significant thing for everyone to deal with. Everyone can relate to it in some ways. Either they've done it, it's happened in their life before, or they think about it happening and they're like, "It's in the future." And I was just like permitted that space. And I just think of people who have those conversations like, "Oh, my parent died and I need to leave work early." And then the boss says, "No," or like, "Okay, cool. But like, make sure that this is, logged in your PTO or something." And you're permitted as a fractional CMO, a sense of autonomy, right? Like, what do I want as the fractional CMO? Well, first of all, I'm not the fractional CMO. I'm the CMO. Like, everyone knows me as the CMO of the business. But it just so happens that my relationship with the business owner is one where I'm not paid full time, where I'm not paid 40 hours a week. I'm not a full-time employee. But really, like, no one needs to know that my relationship is huge. So as the CMO, I'm afforded all the same rights and privileges of the CMO, who's a full-time CMO. And that means that I'm in charge of outcomes. I'm not in charge of like the day-to-day maximization of people's time. And I think that this is a really important consideration. So I think for like the untrained eye, this can look like I'm a little wild and free as a CMO. Like, I kind of don't care what people do in all, my direct reports in all 8 hours of the day. I just care that they're working on the most important stuff. And if I can ensure that someone is focused on the most important thing and they understand the importance, they understand why it's important, they understand what the best case scenario is if it works out, and the worst case scenario if it doesn't work out, they understand what's the cost of getting it right and getting it wrong. If they understand all of that stuff and I assign them the outcome, I don't really have to myopically focus on their day-to-day. Instead, I can kind of lean back and just make sure that everyone's kind of going in the right direction. My expectation is that their intellect, their personal drive, their hunger to be at a company, to do the work, that's going to drive them to produce a great work product. And I'm obviously going to review the work product, but I don't have to be there for the day-to-day. I can take off a week and effectively see no change in outcomes for the client. I can take a quarter of the month off, just like disappear, be 100% unavailable. I put do not disturb on my phone. I didn't check messages from anyone except for my family. And the businesses moved on, like moved accordingly. Like they kept going. And I think more than that, there was some innovation that happened. It's like, oh, Casey's not here to do the thing that he usually does, and it still needs to get done. How do we ensure that it gets done? So they came up with a solution that didn't require me. And what's great about that is that solution is kind of a durable solution that doesn't require me continually. So through my absence, the team was able to develop processes that allowed them to be more efficient and self-directed. And that is simply solving bigger problems. So when they do that, they become more efficient, more effective, and then I get to go find the next problem because I'm freed up from a check and balance that I might have provided previously, and now someone is taking over. And maybe I just didn't have the visibility to see like, oh, I should extricate myself from this. Or maybe I didn't think the team was mature enough for me to like leave that check and balance role. But then they self-identified someone to provide that role in my absence, and that person can continue to carry on that role. That just means that I have more time. So what do I do at that time? Well, I practice predicting the future. I think about what's going to happen next. So I see all of these things that happen in our life, all of these events, like pain. Like my father passing is incredibly painful, and you can't hear it in my voice right now. But trust me, it's there. And that is a lesson for me on letting go to a team that is smart and driven, and they want what I want and what the client wants because we're all aligned and they're clear and we've got a good quarterly structure for things. But then the day-to-day, I don't have to be there all the time. I remember I used to have a job where I had a boss who checked on me all the time. Like start of the day, before lunch, after lunch, close of the day. They were just like all over me, and it sucked. It just felt like it took all the joy out of work. If my output wasn't maximum the whole time, they were critiquing me. And that's just an uncomfortable feeling. I don't want to live in that world as a worker. So by being able by creating an environment where your direct reports have like a lot of freedom, I think is really great. There's other knock-on effects of this as well. Those direct reports don't have to make the most money possible in the role because their quality of life is so good. They feel like when they have questions, they get answered. When they have input, it gets listened to. They feel like a valuable member of the team. And that is worth more to a lot of people, certainly worth more to me, than it is to get paid more and to have it be super duper high stress all the time. You want folks that are a little more self-directed, that enjoy that environment and see the value in having that environment. So I think that's a big benefit. Another benefit is, man, you know what I hate doing? Like logging someone's PTO. And in the legal structure of being a fractional CMO, a 1099, you don't really have direct ability to kind of like manage the person. Okay. Speak with your clients around this. But the way that you get around it is someone else is that person, and then you just effectively like tell that person what you're having these people do, and it's kind of. And again, talk with your clients about that, and let them understand the risk around that, and what they feel comfortable. But the general idea here is that I don't want to be the teacher, when someone raises their hand and say, "Can I go to the bathroom?" You know what I mean? It's like I want to be in a class of adults. I want to be in a workplace of adults where if you have to go to the bathroom, you just go to the bathroom. Or like if you need to take the day off because your kid's sick, you send a note and take the day off. And if you can, you work a little bit because there's some stuff that's important that you need your input on, but it's okay if not. And that's different though than the person who, perpetually has their car break down. There's a joke. I worked with a guy and he said, before I came on the team, there's someone else that worked with the company who perpetually got a flat tire. It's like, is the guy driving through a work site every day? We didn't know, but he kept getting a flat tire, and that person just became unreliable. And there's a difference between unreliable and understanding the ebbs and flows and melodrama of life and supporting people through that by not asking them for details and trusting them, and also having an expectation that people aren't taking advantage of you. There's an interesting subreddit. If you're on Reddit, it's called Overemployed, or you can go to overemployed.com. And this is the idea that someone gets 2 full-time jobs, they work them at the same time, and they kind of do an okay job at both, and they kind of skate under the radar for as long as possible and make double income. But you don't want an overemployed person working for you. That's icky. You want to create the structure where you're like maximizing the output of the team member while also like minimizing the oversight that you have to provide to that person. What you want to find is that team member who says something like, "Hey guys, I'm out for a wedding on Friday. I'm going to work just a little bit late today just to kind of make sure that I'm all caught up so I'm good for the week." Like you don't have to ask them. They just offer that. The answer is like, "Sweet. Thank you. Great." Right? Like there's no extra work for you. There's no clocking in their PTO and saying, "All right, well, you've got 4 hours of PTO that you're taking off. Maybe I've let the quarter for the year. What's your rollover?" None of that stuff. You don't have to deal with any of that stuff. During stand-up, the team member might say to you like, "Hey, I'm out Friday afternoon for a wedding." You're like, "Great, cool, have fun. Share photos in the random channel when you're back if you want." And that's it. And the show goes on and everyone's successful. So when you step in as the CMO and you create the culture that I'm talking about, where other people feel safe to be human, and they have like flexibility in when they work, and also you're very strict about what happens by certain outcomes. For example, quarterly outcomes. If a direct report misses a major quarterly rock, it's really not good for them, and they're effectively on watch. And if they do that again, they're out. Like it's unacceptable to miss a quarterly run. It is completely acceptable to have, to give grace to the person for a week or whatever happens. And the longer you're working, the more you're going to exchange clients. You're going to get your first clients for whatever rate you can get them at, and you're going to learn quickly that you undercharged and you're providing more value than you expected. And then it's going to move to this logical phase of just like increasing your rate and finding better and better clients. And then life gets easier because the clients are more affluent. There's less of a, oh my God, I'm, hemorrhaging money in the business. And if marketing doesn't perform a miracle today, then we have to shut everything down. And if you're not working with those clients and things are easier, what you're going to find is you're able to build better teams. You're able to build more responsive teams, more caring teams, more supportive teams that step in and support one another when someone is out. And the expectation is like, maybe it's unwritten that I'm going to step in for you because that means you'll step in for me. But really, it's just, I'll step in for you because it's the right thing for us to do. And the show has to go on. And yeah, I think I'll work an extra hour today to cover the stuff that you would otherwise do because you're going to be out. But then the expectation is that the team covers for you and, not an issue. So creating that culture is the most important thing for the team members. What again are the knock-on effects of that? Like, well, if a team member feels good, they're less likely to churn. And if they're not going to churn, then you don't have to go find someone new and have downtime without someone. Finding someone new is such a pain. So it's nice to keep people, reshuffle folks into the right seats, assign them things that are important and useful to the business, make them feel like valuable members of the team. But then you get the benefit too of having grace. The team supports you. They want you to be successful. They want you to be happy. They want everything good for you, just as you want everything good for them. And it's just a lovely place to be. And I'm speaking that through experience. I've worked at companies where when we had our first kid, my son, August, the client was like, I was like, hey, I'm going to take some pat leave. And he's like, cool. Well, stop billing me. And, then you're going to do this. And here's going to be the billing structure. Here's how we're going to make up for lost time. And just really militant. And there was just no grace there. And I realized that he just wasn't my guy. I didn't have the loyalty really to continue to support him because he didn't support me in paternity leave, kind of a guy who just didn't get it. Probably didn't spend a lot of time around babies, didn't understand the importance of the first few months of the kid's life or, supporting my wife at childbirth in the 4th trimester. He didn't get it. And that's okay. He doesn't get it. There's probably someone who's perfect for him, a marketer that's perfect for him. It just wasn't me. And you look at current clients and they're checking in with me. They're sending me a text message. How's your dad? How are you? They're not asking about work stuff because the work stuff will all get figured out, but they actually care about the person. So create the culture that you want to be in, and then you need to reap it. And I hope you never have to, right? I hope, these things never happen to you and you stay forever young. But, in the case that things like this happen and you need to take space for funerals and celebrations of life and, settling the estate and all of that stuff, then, that's going to be there for you. So I think I'm just so happy. The kind of clients that I flew up on Monday. I found a delayed flight that was flying out of LaGuardia, and I was able to get on it. I went to the ticket counter and I said, I need to get home. I need to get on the flight. They said, we can't sell you the ticket because it's a delayed flight from 9 a.m. and they rescheduled to noon and at, 10:45. And for whatever reason, we can't sell you that ticket. I was like, whatever you can do, please just do it. Just do it. And they said, okay. And they gave me a price. And I said, I don't care. Just use my credit card, just put it on my card. And I walked on the flight and flew home. And I didn't have to have any worry about losing income or losing clients or anything. It's just, I could do that. And I'll be gone for 2 weeks. And then I'll be home for a week and I'll get some good work done in that week that I'm home, but really only for 3 days. And then I'm going to throw my kids and wife in a car and we're all going to come up and we're going to stay up here for a week. And then we're going to go do some travel tours. So I have no doubt that the clients will be okay and the relationships will continue and I will continue to get paid and we will have a great quarter and we'll be set up well for Q4 because I've created the infrastructure. I've created the culture of a team that supports one another. That's what I want you to do. All right. That's big. All right. Now, the second thing that I want to share with you is I read a CMO that I talked to, and she's very talented, very smart, just a great marketer, very experienced. And she's got a deal that came in front of her, and someone just found her randomly on LinkedIn. And after she and I talked about it, it kind of made sense how they found her. She's got experience in a business model type, and this company is looking to kind of get into that business model. So they found her and reached out to her. This is a company that's in the medical space that's kind of getting positioned to do something really big. And if it works out and marketing works and they're able to hit it, we're talking like big, we're talking massive IPO. It's just a really incredible opportunity. They're well funded. Seem like they have a good product, all that kind of stuff. All right. But the CMO says, Casey, I don't really have experience directly in this industry. It's in the medical space and their experience is mostly in the consumer space. And like consumer tangible product, consumable. And this is like kind of tangential to that, but I think it's kind of a stretch to say that they're related in any way. So again, she's been approached by someone who seems to have a potential, unicorn in vitro and wants help from marketing to launch it. And the CMO's like, do I go with it or not? Do I help them or not? Because she hears me say things like, you have to have a niche and like focus on a niche. I just want to clarify this idea. Focus on a niche. Yes, because you have to do outreach and you have to talk to people and they have to know you as the person who does something specific. That's the most important thing. So let me give you an example. We look at, there's the business coach, Dan Sullivan, who I adore, strategiccoach.com. And Dan started just working with financial advisors, I think in Toronto and Chicago. Those were his two locations. Toronto and Chicago, two locations. That's where he started working with financial advisors. And then he branched out to more locations, and then he opened it up to other entrepreneurs. But if you go to a strategic coach meeting, there's probably a third or a half of the members are financial advisors. He started off as a financial advisor coach. And as you can imagine, he produced a really great product for financial advisors. It was useful. It was helpful. It created massive change for these folks. Then he realized, okay, I can kind of round the edges of this and make it useful for all types of businesses. And then he had strategic coach kind of generally for business. Great model. But he started off with specificity before he went wide. If you want to look in like the kind of the marketing space, you've got Todd Herman. Todd Herman is an incredible marketer. Todd Herman had 90-day year. He does his coaching with high-end athletes, but really 90-day year was kind of like the consumer's approach to Todd's information. And he ran 90-day year for many years. I mean, still continues to run it. And then he went wide. Then he went to alter egoism, which is a much wider play. Dan Martell did this. He had SaaS Academy and he blew up SaaS Academy. Dan, built and launched and exited multiple SaaS companies. And then he started training people on how to do that. Great business model. But then Dan says, I want to do more. So then he wrote a book called Buy Back Your Time, which is a general book. Anyone can buy back their time. Unemployed, is that even a fair term? Like a homemaker can do it. Entrepreneurs can do it. The executive directors of nonprofits can buy back their time. College students can their time. Like everyone can buy back their time. So he went from specific to a lot more general. He could afford to do that because he put a lot of money into it. And it worked for him, but he didn't start there. So this CMO saying, Casey, you say to niche down. Yes, I do. Why? Because I want someone to know you as the solution for this. We've got on our team at CMOX, Melissa, and Melissa helps me when people come to us and say, hey, Casey, we want to hire a CMO. I say, great. Tell me more about your business. What's your revenue? What's the marketing team? All that stuff. And they give us information. And then we say, Melissa sends me a note. And she goes, anyone jumping out to you immediately? Right? Does anyone jump out to you immediately that would be a perfect fit for this? And the only reason I say yes is because someone has branded themselves as that perfect fit. They've said, yeah, I am the CMO for whatever, financial advisors between 200 million and 1 billion. I'm the CMO for better for you CPG companies. I'm a CMO for personal injury lawyers. Like, those are the people I think of first. I certainly don't think of the generalist. So you have to choose a niche and commit to it and kind of be known as that person. But that does not stop you from taking on business that comes your way that is interesting. And that's what keeps my focus as a CMO, frankly. If all of my clients were similar, like very similar, my life would be easier, but it'd be boring and that wouldn't be fun. And I would probably find ways to destroy it. I like novelty. I like different. I like new. I like nuggets of information. I like just stuff that's a little bit different. I enjoy that. That said, I'm still going to focus on companies that are high ticket. I don't want to sell something that's $10 a piece. I want to sell something that's 10,000 minimum, 50,000 minimum. That's way more fun. But I don't care what industry it is, generally speaking. I like consultative sales. I like high ticket price. I like longer sales cycle. Those are the kind of businesses that I feel like are the most fun for me. And that's where I want to be. Those are the things that I have in common. And I have the privilege of doing that because I've built a book of business and, I've kind of like moved on to that next level. But if you're getting started here, you want to be really specific about who you talk to and reach out to and have conversations with and how people know you. Like that's so important, how people know you. There's someone that you know in your life that's great at something. I remember I did a bicycle trip after college. I cycled from Madrid to Rome with my girlfriend at the time. And we stopped in these small towns in France and in Italy and in Spain. And each of these towns were known for something. And I remember this one town we went to just was known for their olive loaf. My God, it was so good. Just like next level. And you couldn't get the olive loaf in a neighboring town. They're like, oh, we don't do that here. We do this cheese, or we do this honey, or we do this wine, or this vinegar. They don't do the olive loaf. So you go to the town to get the olive loaf, and they've been doing it for 150 years, and that's just kind of their MO. That's where you want to be. And it's not like the people that do the olive loaf don't do other things, but they're known for one thing. That's where you want to be. You want to be known for the one thing. So consider what you want to be known for, and then by all means, talk to everybody. Anyone that comes your way that says, hey, can we have a conversation about like how you might be able to help me? I found your LinkedIn and you seem like a really astute marketer and, I think you might be a good fit for me. Can we talk about it? What a flattering thing to happen, and absolutely go and talk to that person. It's just that you can't go prospect everybody. Again, if you go and prospect to every single business, and I say, I help financial advisors and I help gas stations and I help restaurants and I help SaaS companies and I help cannabis extraction companies. If you go through that, like no one believes you. No one believes you. You look at these super high paid consultants, lobbyists, those folks, they have a very specific experience and they're going to go help and they're going to be charging top dollar for it because they know kind of everything to do and someone trusts that. All right. One last thing I want to share about this conversation I had with the CMO. So she and I chatted yesterday. And one of the things I offer my CMOs is just unmetered time with me when it comes to deal making. Right? If you're like working a deal out, like how do you position and posture for a deal so that you get some great outcome? Folks get unlimited time. And it is a ton of fun to help them structure their deals. We've had some monster deals get structured this year. I mean, some that are worth millions of dollars. And in the conversation around deal structuring, I asked the CMO, what would you charge? Like, what rate are you going to pitch at? And she said, well, I need to go look at their investment. I need to go look at what their seed funding was for, how big it was and all that. Very logical approach. I would say it's an approach most people would take. They need to go see that. But I think it is flawed. And here's what I thought, and I continue to think is the right move. It doesn't matter what their investment range is. It doesn't matter how big their Series ABC is. We can go on Crunchbase, and I don't care what the number is, because I know that the company is at a pivotal point, and they need to make it, and they need to have great talent for it. I think that this woman is awesome talent for it. Very experienced, very smart, very hardworking. I think she would do great for them. So she's like going to come in at some price, irrespective of the risk on the shoulders of the CEO. And I think that this is an important thing to consider. If the CEO gets it wrong, they're going to lose. Their name is on the business. This company has primo property in a major kind of U.S. incubator city area, kind of like, effectively like the Menlo Park of their area. And there's just so much at risk. And the important thing here isn't how much money they have, but what's the risk of getting it wrong? And how do you position yourself as the person who will get it right? That's the most important thing. And this isn't advice for everybody. This is advice for those who are real killers. Some folks listen to this podcast, you're just not there yet. And it's good to kind of recognize that in yourself. But if you worked at companies and you've done some really big stuff and you want to take those lessons and apply it to new companies and today's ecosystem with AI and the current, interest rates and all that stuff, and you think you could kill it, like, you need to be charging the premium for it. We recently had a CMO. We recently had a business come in and ask, hey, you got a CMO for our company. They're in the home services space. They said, yeah, we got a couple. Let's line up some interviews for you. So we lined up some interviews and the CMO's pitched. This business owner went with the person who was the most expensive, plus asked for a percentage upside. And it's not like they didn't know that. Like, they knew that they got 3 prices and they chose the highest base rate, which had additionally on top of it a percentage of revenue generated from marketing that the CMO gets to keep. It's a massive ticket. But they said, we're going big, we're playing hard. I want someone who's hungry. I want someone who's tied in. So they were going to just pay more money all across the board for the CMO. Because the risk was too great to say, guys, we did a half measure with our CMO. Instead of paying $15,000 a month, we paid $7,000 a month. And I think we got someone who was half as good. Right? And it's like, if you live in a world where like the difference of $7,000 is significant, I get it. But for these businesses that have a, $80,000 a month, $100,000 a month overhead minimum, your fees don't matter. Like, your fees are insignificant to the business owner. Like, an additional $7,000 isn't a big deal. The bigger deal is losing a week or a month or a year. I'm working on a project, and previous to me coming in, I had a marketing leader there who, ultimately didn't do a very good job for 2 years. And while my costs are more than their cost, my output far exceeds their output, and I'm able to make up for lost time. And this, the other person couldn't have. Speed matters. So don't get caught up in cost. Make sure that you're charging a price the client believes the problem is worth solving. And sometimes the client's made a series of bad decisions, and it's appropriate for them to pay a bit of a tax for that. Or there's a lot at risk here, and they need to get your attention, and you need to charge a high enough price so that you're not going to phone it in. You're going to do a great job. So you're going to charge a bit of a premium. That's okay. So I never get on Crunchbase to look at what a potential client's revenue is or investment ranges. That's just not it. I look at what's at risk for them getting it wrong, and I position myself as the person who helps them get it right so that they don't blow this very kind of rare and important opportunity to get it right. It's a mindset shift, and it is so significant when you lock into it correctly. The CMOs that don't are the CMOs that continue to play this game of like, oh, I think I'm going to marginally increase my hourly rate because of 4%, because it's the end of the year and I got to do it for just cost of living or whatever. And those marketers never see the value that they provide, the risk that they help reduce, and ultimately then the value of their work, like the impact of their work. If I can ensure a client gets to their end goal by the end of next year, which is what they need it by, if I can be the person who gets them there, it's worth every dollar I charge and probably a lot more. If I'm the person who ensures that they don't have a bad day because they're spending $20,000 a day on ads, I'm super valuable, right? Like, I'm certainly worth at least $10,000 a month to make sure you don't have one bad day where you blow $20,000. We want to find the clients who have more at risk. And this doesn't mean that they are like in a compromised position. This is just for the business owners that are like taking that risk. They're trying something new. They're understanding what's at play and they're going to go and play it. They're going to go do the thing. That's where we want to be. Those are more fun opportunities. Those are teams that get eager for growth. They're excited. They see what's coming. You want the clients that are like thinking about exiting. You want the clients that are doing M&A. They're purchasing companies. You want clients that are investing significant capital into marketing. You don't want the ones that are just kind of like poking around, trying marketing for the first time, not really sure if marketing is a good deal for them or not. Here's another way to look at it. Like, think about diet and weight loss. We all know the answer, right? We all inherently know, how do you build muscle and lose fat, right? Well, you eat a higher protein diet, approximately 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And then you probably need to do some resistance training, right? That's pretty important. And you keep your calories in check. And cardio's a nice little cherry on top. We all just know that to be true. Yet people continue to do silly things, like they take some special oil that's going to help them lose weight or whatever. And those people just kind of stay in this limbo of never being where they want to be because they're trying shortcuts. And we all know that shortcuts, aren't able to defy the laws of thermodynamics. So I bring that up to say plenty of business owners are trying to defy the laws of business by cheating in marketing. And I don't want the cheaters. I want the business owner who's like, I get it. The way that we do this is we do it right. The way that we do it is that we build the marketing team in-house, that we take the media buyer role and we develop it in-house, and we get someone that works for us full-time so that we can save the money that the agency would make. And we come up with a creative pipeline and we generate new creatives constantly. We're just monsters on creatives. They understand this stuff. They understand that they have to create new content, and that content has a shelf life. And after 3 months of running the same offer, they probably have to turn it off and cycle a new offer. Right? They understand this stuff, and they want a marketing department that does that. Not a marketing department that somehow makes magic happen where they've never had success before, that a CMO can come in and do everything. That's not what you want. You want these more realistic folks that are saying okay, I get it. To get in the best shape of my life, really, if I can have 2 years, I can do it. Right? They can maybe lose some weight in 90 days, but they're not going to get to the level that they want to be in 90 days. They're going to need a couple years of it. You want those clients who have that vision of a couple years. And you do that, you start surrounding yourself with those people. And again, you build that support structure in the department of people being helpful, of people being supportive of one another, filling in for each other, having each other's back. You just have a much better company to work with. It's more exciting, longer term. That's the secret to locking in clients that pay you for multiple years, is you work on that kind of a vision with those kinds of teams. And yes, there are small projects that happen along the way. You have to get XYZ leads by this date, or launch this project and it has to be successful, or whatever. Yes, those things are obviously there. But that by and large is not the thrust of your relationship with the client. The relationship with the client is much larger than that. You have a much larger time horizon for ultimate success to be reached, not just some short-term myopic success. All right. Thank you for staying with me on this podcast. Sorry about the audio quality. It's with AirPods, and I know it sucks, but thank you for listening. I'm bummed to say, when I got access to my dad's phone because I had to do some 2-factor authentications to get some of his accounts to kind of start the estate planning process. And on his home screen bar, he has email, phone, internet, and then he had the Apple Podcast app. And I opened the Apple Podcast app up, and the last thing that he listened to on the podcast was my episode. So yeah, it's pretty touching for me that this will be the first episode that he won't hear. Yeah, well, thank you all for being here. All right, take care.
Thank you for sticking around for the full episode. As you know, learners are earners, but you've got to take action on what you heard today. For more information and show notes, visit fractionalcmoshow.com. If you'd like me to answer your questions on an upcoming episode, you can share your question at fractionalcmoshow.com. And last, please hit the like and subscribe button so that I know that this content is helpful to you. All right, go get them.